welcome to the United States Naval Academy's Alumni Hall. This afternoon, we are recognizing 4 graduates of the Naval Academy who received the 2005 Distinguished Graduate Award Medal from the United States Naval Academy Alumni Association.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This weekend, we recognize our distinguished graduates for their service to our nation and their tireless dedication to duty. And these men truly embody the mission of our Naval Academy. And I know all the midshipmen could repeat it with me, but I'll remind you all of what that mission says. Our mission is to develop midshipmen morally, and mentally, and physically, and to imbue them with the highest ideals of duty and honor and loyalty, in order to provide graduates who are dedicated to a career of naval service and have potential for future development in both mind and character, to assume the highest responsibilities of command, citizenship, and government. I repeat that today because that's exactly what these 4 men have done. In fact, these 4 men have gone well above and beyond the highest ideals of duty and honor and loyalty in fulfilling the challenges that they have faced of command and citizenship and government. We honor distinguished graduates because of 3 reasons. They're demonstrated an unselfish commitment to a lifetime of service to our Navy and our nation. Their personal character that epitomizes the traits that we expect in our officer corps. And third, their significant contributions as Navy and Marine Corps officers or as leaders in industry or government. But most importantly, in my mind, we honor them to serve as role models for today's midshipmen and generations of midshipmen yet to come to the Naval Academy, to show them that they can do more, much more than they think they can. It is a great opportunity for our midshipmen to be exposed to those who have sailed in harm's way before them. Their success stories serve as a source of motivation for the young men and women who are surrounding us today in Alumni Hall. Each of these men started here as young midshipmen with the same dreams and the same hopes and the same excitement. And they've gone on to excel in every facet of their professional lives. Not only have they served their country, but they continue to serve as beacons, lighting the way for today's midshipmen as you all begin to chart your naval careers. Gentlemen, on behalf of the Brigade of Midshipmen and the more than 50,000 living alumni of this academy, I thank you for your commitment to service, for your selfless devotion to duty, and for the example that you set. You are role models for each of us, and it is truly an honor for us to recognize you in this special ceremony. From this moment on, you will be known as distinguished graduates of the United States Naval Academy.
Hailing from the heartland, Slade DeVille Cutter arrived at the Naval Academy as a member of the class of 1935. His impressive size, speed, and athletic ability quickly caught the eye of Spike Webb, the Navy and U.S. Olympic boxing coach. As a heavyweight boxer, he became an instant legend, with some recruiters urging him to turn pro. The lucky bag noted he could practically get through every fight without having his hair mussed. He also wrote his name in large letters in the history of Navy football. As starting tackle and place kicker, he made All-American and was selected for the College Football Hall of Fame. He secured his place in Academy history in the 1934 game against Army, when his first quarter field goal provided the winning margin, ending a 13-year drought against the cadets. After graduation, Slade went to sea aboard the battleship USS Idaho, where he captained the ship's football and boxing teams. After applying for submarine training, Slade was on patrol on December 7, 1941, when the crew learned of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Over the next 4 years, for the duration of the war, Slade served on wartime patrols in 3 submarines. He was executive officer of USS Pompano, executive officer and commanding officer of USS Seahorse, and was commanding USS Requine and on patrol when the Japanese surrendered. Slade was highly decorated for his wartime patrols, including 4 Navy Crosses. One of his command, Seahorse, is credited with sinking 23 Japanese ships. To this day, his command of Seahorse remains his proudest accomplishment, praising the crew as brave and talented, men who got the job done. They were so good, he said, he never had to be reckless. After the war, Slade commanded Submarine Division 32 and Submarine Squadron 6. In 1956, he returned to his alma mater as athletic director, where he made changes in athletic policy to make it more supportive of good order and discipline within the brigade. He also helped guide the effort to build Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. After a succession of productive assignments, including Commanding Officer, Naval Training Center at Great Lakes, Slade retired from the Navy in 1965. Slade and his wife, Ruth, always enjoyed their family time with their children and grandchildren. Slade Cutter's life and experience have provided a shining example to 3 generations of midshipmen. His accomplishments in the ring and on the gridiron are part of Academy lore. His accomplishments at sea helped win a war and set a standard for naval warriors. Said one colleague, "He was and is a fighter. He is what we train our midshipmen to be." Captain Slade D. Cutter, a champion for his classmates at the United States Naval Academy and all who have followed.
Presenting the Distinguished Graduate Award Medal to each of our awardees is the Brigade Commander, Midshipman Captain Luke E. Kelvington, Class of 2005, assisted by Admiral Carlisle A.H. Trost, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Naval Academy Alumni Association.
Captain Cutter is deeply honored to be in this place, in this hall, in this company, and reunited with the brigade. In my plebe year, not so long ago, 58 years, one of our plebe rates was to know who had kicked the field goal and only score in the 1934 Army-Navy game. Thanks to this video, you know the answer. But there was another question, as there always is for plebes, and that was, how many first downs were there in that game, on that day, on that very muddy field? The answer, 3 for both teams. Nobody ever said winning comes easily, and it didn't that day in Philadelphia. In my conversations with Captain Cutter, I frequently asked him what he would tell today's midshipmen. And typical of the man, he gave it a great deal of thought. And what follows is vintage Captain Slade Cutter. These are his words, and he is talking directly to you as members of the brigade. He remembers his years here at the Naval Academy as the happiest and most demanding of his life. He enjoyed the support of his family, his fellow midshipmen. He looked back on these years as a source of great pride. It was during those years that deep bonds were formed, not only between midshipmen, but between midshipmen and their class and their company, the academy, and the service as a whole. Captain Cutter would remind you, though, that in spite of all the glorious ties and bonds of friendship and relationships with this service and this academy, that there is a price to be paid. And the price comes in the form of obligations that you take on willingly, and expectations that others have of your future performance. Much is expected of midshipmen, and even more is expected of its graduates. To tie all these threads together, Captain Cutter tells a short sea story. When he was just 9 years out of the academy, he found himself in the South China Sea in command of USS Seahorse. Looking at the horizon, and they were just southeast of Hong Kong, looking at the horizon, he saw a wisp of smoke. And in that time and in that place, it could only be the enemy. So he put the rudder over and started to close the contact. Soon, and going to periscope depth, he saw the mastheads of enemy ships cut the plane of the horizon. And then closing further, he saw the hulls of the enemy heave up above the horizon. And then finally, he saw the escorts in front of what was a fairly large enemy convoy. He knew that when, not if, when he attacked, that Seahorse was going to get a severe depth charging, and one which the ship might not survive. He tells me he would not have dared not to close and not to engage the enemy. He said he valued the respect and esteem of his classmates and former teammates to leave and fight another day. This is a good example of the legacy of this place that you take with you when you leave here. If I had to go to war tomorrow, I would want to go with someone much like Captain Slade Cutter. As you firsties leave this place next month, and you second class leave here next year, and youngsters and plebes follow in succession, will your future shipmates in the fleet say that about you? Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Slade Cutter, professional, warrior, winner, and distinguished graduate of the United States Naval Academy.
Now, what he just said a minute ago when he was here was, "Go Navy, beat Army," all right?
Robert H. Wertheim was born and raised in Carlsbad, New Mexico, some 300 miles from the Los Alamos National Laboratory. While American scientists and engineers worked on the first atomic bomb, Bob left New Mexico to enter the U.S. Naval Academy as a member of the class of 1946. At the Academy, Bob excelled in academics and was a member of the fencing team that went undefeated his senior year. The lucky bag noted his leadership skills and academic prowess, as well as his early interest in submarines. After tours in destroyers, Bob was ordered to Sandia Base in 1947 to work on the military applications of atomic energy. With a degree in nuclear physics from MIT, Bob joined the new Special Projects Office and its Fleet Ballistic Missile Program, one of the original cadre of naval officers taking the Jupiter missile to sea. In the fall of 1956, Lieutenant Wertheim led a joint study that would ultimately lead to development of a new missile designed specifically for submarine launch, the Polaris. In those tense days of the Cold War, Bob and his colleagues worked to speed up development of the Polaris, an important contribution to national security during that dangerous time. After serving as military assistant to Dr. Harold Brown at Defense Research and Engineering, Bob returned to the Navy Strategic Systems Special Project Office, serving as technical director and director for the next 15 years, receiving many prestigious awards and commendations. There, he guided development of naval weapons systems that enhanced national security, including the Trident I, deployed in October 1979, a year before he retired from active duty. But in retirement, Bob continued his mission. He served as Senior Vice President for Science and Engineering at Lockheed, and for the past 17 years has been a consultant to Science Applications International Corporation. He has served on various boards, including as chairman of the Los Alamos National Laboratory National Security Advisory Board. An enthusiastic supporter of the Naval Academy, he is a life member of the President's Circle and a generous contributor to the Uriah P. Levy Center and creation of a Jewish chapel at the Academy. Bob is always happy when he can visit with his 2 children and his grandson, Benjamin. He is understandably proud of his leadership of the government industry Navy team that conceived, developed, and continues to support the submarine-based weapon systems that have become our most dependable deterrent to nuclear war. Rear Admiral Robert H. Wertheim, whose intelligence and dedication to his country helped the world avoid the catastrophe of nuclear war.
To say that I'm honored to be here is a gross understatement. Being nominated by my classmates and selected by the Alumni Association to be a distinguished graduate is the greatest honor of my career and my lifetime. It's quite likely that decades from now, one or more of the midshipmen here today will be receiving such an honor for having met the significant challenges of serving the Navy and the nation. What might those challenges be? My experience with myself, many others who were participants in our government industry team that produced the Polaris and its successor systems, creating a sea-based deterrent to the threat posed by an aggressive nuclear-armed adversary during a half-century-long Cold War was a completely unanticipated Navy mission involving application of scientific discoveries and technologies that I could never have imagined when I was here as a midshipman. I'm convinced that your careers during the course of the 21st century, political and technological change will continue to accelerate and will present new threats to this nation and new technical opportunities for you to use when you're charged with dealing with them. To that end, this great institution, the United States Naval Academy, is providing each of you with an unexcelled education, including a foundation in mathematics, science, engineering, and personal leadership skills. No one, and certainly not this ancient mariner, can ever tell you what your career choices will turn out to be the most important. But whatever you do, my strong advice is you should enjoy doing it, you should work hard at it, and you should do it as well as you can. My best wishes to each member of the brigade for an exciting and fulfilling career in the service of our great nation and its Navy. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Ronald J. Hayes grew up in small-town Louisiana, an Eagle Scout and valedictorian of his high school class. Deciding on a naval career, he entered the Naval Academy class of 1950. The lucky bag recalls Ron's ever-flashing smile, as broad and friendly as the Mississippi Delta, and his ability to handle the rigors of Academy life with an easygoing, friendly attitude. After graduation, Ron went to sea aboard USS Hugh Purvis, but he had his sights set on the sky. Ordered to Pensacola, he earned his wings in 1952. After flying the A-1 Sky Raider in the closing days of the Korean War, Ron qualified as a test pilot. He quickly gained the reputation as a problem solver. October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Ron returned to attack aviation as executive officer of VA-106, prepared to strike Cuba if necessary. That crisis ended peacefully, but soon there was another that didn't: Vietnam. As commanding officer of a squadron of new A-6 all-weather jets, Ron led 162 missions into high-threat target areas of North Vietnam. His exploits were featured on the front page of the New York Times after he carried out a single-plane attack on a new power plant. Following 4 years in Vietnam, Captain Hayes was selected for a number of important assignments, including a critical role in Admiral Zumwalt's shore establishment upgrade effort. After a major command tour, Rear Admiral Hayes' services were in demand by the Navy. He served as director of the General Planning and Program Division for the CNO, Commander Carrier Group 4, Deputy Commander Atlantic Fleet and Atlantic Forces, and Vice Chief of Naval Operations. As Commander-in-Chief Pacific Forces, Admiral Hayes capped a distinguished 38-year naval career with more than 50 awards and decorations, making him the most decorated member of the class of 1950. In retirement, Ron Hayes has remained a problem solver. After settling in Hawaii, he led a difficult and complex effort to move USS Missouri to Pearl Harbor and establish it as a memorial. He represented his class as a presenter of gold bars to the class of 2000, forging another link in the chain of Naval Academy graduates. Active in charitable causes, Ron has chaired Goodwill Industries of Hawaii and directed Friends of Hawaii Charities. His selfless activities are well known throughout his community and the Navy. Ron and his wife Jane have a wonderful family with 3 children and 4 grandchildren. For all his many accomplishments, Ron regards securing an unsolicited appointment to the Naval Academy as the most significant because, he says, it was the turning point in his life. Admiral Ronald Hayes, a heroic warrior and leader whose bold commitment has inspired his classmates and earned the gratitude of his nation.
It's a high honor, and it's also humbling to see the amount of attention that this action has caused, and to see all of you here for this occasion. I think a major claimant to the title distinguished is the United States Naval Academy. This place is a national treasure that has served the Navy and the nation's interest for over 100 years. And that's something that we can all be proud of. And personally, this institution took an uninformed, drifting with the tide
boy from that small town, it was a sawmill town, someone who had never been outside the borders of the state of Louisiana, who had never flown in an airplane until I boarded one, headed in this direction. And when I arrived, I was introduced to a challenging, exciting world that I would never have known otherwise. I have very deep feelings for this Naval Academy and this Navy. And when I look back, I realize that it was the Navy, starting right here, that provided me with an education. It molded me, it trained me to serve effectively for the Navy and the country. You hear a lot about duty, honor, loyalty, integrity. I would add the courage to do the right thing. And if you pursue those categories, I can assure you that you will render distinguished service to the Navy and to our country. I wish each of you the very best, and thanks a lot for being here. Thank you.
H. Ross Perot was born in Texarkana, Texas, and as a youngster benefited from his parents' deep love and support. Starting at age 7, he held a series of jobs, everything from breaking horses to selling garden seeds. He joined the Boy Scouts and became an Eagle Scout in just 15 months. As a member of the Naval Academy class of 1953, Ross's leadership skills were quickly recognized. He was elected class president his second and first class years and served as battalion commander and chairman of the honor committee. As chairman, he established the honor concept as the Academy knows it today. His third class cruise in the summer of 1950 was aboard the destroyer USS Rhone, where Ross spent 14 hours cleaning the boilers. The Lucky Bag recalls Ross's boundless energy and enthusiasm, noting he possessed the administrative and executive ability to match it. After graduation, Ross went to sea aboard a destroyer and later a carrier. Ross's naval career ended 4 years later, but his service to his country was just getting started. After working as an IBM salesman in Dallas, Ross used a $1,000 loan from his wife Margot to establish a new company, Electronic Data Systems, which he developed into one of the world's largest technology services firms. At the height of the Vietnam War, the U.S. government approached this Texas businessman for help. Over the next 3.5 years, Ross spearheaded an effort to end the brutal treatment of U.S. POWs in North Vietnam and received the Medal for Distinguished Public Service, the highest civilian award presented by the Pentagon. When 2 of his employees were taken hostage in Iran in 1979, Ross organized and directed a successful rescue mission that inspired a book and a TV miniseries. Selling EDS to General Motors for $2.5 billion in 1984, Ross founded a new technology services firm, Perot Systems Corporation. In 1992, he ran as an independent candidate for President of the United States, winning 19% of the vote, one of the largest tallies ever for a third-party candidate. He ran again in 1996, heading the Reform Party ticket. His dedicated concern for his country is reflected in the number of books he has authored on national issues, including Not for Sale at Any Price: How We Can Save America for Our Children. Over the years, he has generously supported a variety of charitable and civic causes through the Perot Foundation and is the recipient of many awards and honors. He remains a faithful supporter of the Naval Academy, providing financial support for numerous vital projects. Ross says his most meaningful accomplishment is his family. his wonderful wife Margot, 5 outstanding children, and 15 perfect grandchildren. Mr. H. Ross Perot, whose boundless energy and enthusiasm has taken him far, and who remains firmly committed to the welfare of his nation.
It's always an honor to be with the Brigade of Midshipmen. I want you to know how much we admire and respect you. I want you to know that we expect you always to keep, improve, and maintain the highest standards and be role models for all of us. I grew up in the Depression. As I mentioned, I started to work when I was 6 years old, worked all the way through high school and what have you. I knew I wanted to go to the Naval Academy, even though I had never seen the ocean and never seen a ship. But, as you well know, you have to get an appointment. We didn't have any political connections, but my parents and I kept filing from my junior year on. I'd worked my way through 2 years of college. And believe it or not, one day a Western Union telegram came through the mail that I had a principal appointment to the United States Naval Academy from a U.S. Senator. I asked no questions. I went. And it was a life-changing experience. Now again, luck has played such a huge part in my life. The luckiest thing that ever happened to me is I had 2 wonderful parents, and I also have a perfect wife and 15 perfect grandchildren. I've had a lot of luck. I got to come to the Naval Academy. I met incredible, talented, wonderful young people from all 50 states, and all of these young people were just an inspiration to be associated with, and I'm sure you're having that same experience now. Everything that had been hammered into me as a boy by my parents, by my Sunday school, my church, and by the Boy Scouts really got permanently installed at the Naval Academy in terms of honesty, integrity, leadership, putting other people first, and always doing the right thing. Those principles that you are having reinforced and hammered in here will give you a tremendous edge over people who never had this experience. Most people finish college with little or no leadership experience, no leadership training. You can even finish our elite business schools with no leadership training. And that's the most important thing you can get, because one person can only do so much. And only can you have the multiplier effect if you are a good leader. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but the first rule of leadership is put other people first and realize that you are responsible for them. Honesty, integrity, doing what you say you'll do, keeping your commitments. These high principles that you are taught here at the Academy are the most important thing our country needs to preserve our precious freedom in the future. And we know that freedom is precious, freedom is fragile, and we must never take it for granted, and that you can lose it. And you and others like you are the guardians at the gate of our freedom. It's a privilege to be in your presence. God bless you and good luck. Thank you.
But who has better right?
Thank you. Welcome to the Beau Coppage Room at the Alumni Hall at the United States Naval Academy. I'm George Watt, President, Chief Executive Officer of the Naval Academy Alumni Association and Naval Academy Foundation. It is my extreme honor, pleasure to serve as the Master of Ceremonies for tonight's Distinguished Graduate Award dinner. For those of you who may not know, this is the 7th year for the Alumni Association in partnership with the Naval Academy to recognize only a select few from a large group of all of our distinguished grads. We traditionally provide this opportunity to gather together, allow our distinguished graduate recipients and their families to celebrate. Celebrate with each other, celebrate with the former distinguished graduates, with friends, classmates, and our colleagues from the Naval Academy and the Alumni Association. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Akron, Ohio, a future submariner whose brother is a cadet at West Point. But his brother graduates and gets commissioned the day after Luke does, so Luke, he'll be saluting you. Midshipman Captain Luke Kelvington from the class of 2005.
Sir, thank you for that intro. Tonight I've been given the incredible opportunity and honor to address this year's distinguished graduates on behalf of 4,262 midshipmen. While watching the presentation today and reading about those great men's lives, I couldn't help but isolate some common themes. These constants include a lifetime of dedicated service to our country and their families. Each of you are living, breathing examples of a mission complete. Captain Cutter, your athleticism and dedication sets the standard for accomplishing our mission here. Rear Admiral Wertheim, you showed us what it was like to be a pioneer in the realm of the atom. Admiral Hayes reminded us how blessed we are to live in a nation where something like going to the Naval Academy is even possible. Mr. Perot, your years of selfless service to this nation embodies what is stated at the end of our mission, to assume the highest responsibilities of command, citizenship, and government. Each of you made the most of your opportunities while you were here, on the playing field, in the classroom, or in leadership positions. While you could not have known then, you made your mark on this great institution. You left shoes for us to fill and a spirit of commitment which we all continue to aspire. Seeing the pictures of each of you gentlemen today in your full dress blues and white works, I felt a bond. The 4,000 of us share with you a link that defies time and circumstance. No one else in the world knows the rigor, the pride, the perseverance, and the overwhelming feeling of accomplishment that surrounds this place. Except those men like yourselves who have gone before us, it is in your footsteps we follow. One of the brigade's main goals starting out this year was to increase the level of pride that every midshipman feels for the Naval Academy, and also increase the level of pride that each of us feel for our personal commitment to serve this great nation as officers in the armed forces. I firmly believe that in one evening, through this ceremony, which honored the lives of 4 of our most distinguished and honorable graduates, that we as a brigade have more pride in our academy and in our futures as career officers in the Navy and Marine Corps. It is very easy for us as midshipmen to get caught up in our daily schedules of inspections, formations, and classroom studies. And therefore, periodically, we lose sight of our exciting futures and the honor and nobility of the chosen profession as a volunteer servant in the greatest country in the world. Gentlemen, through your personal examples and service to the nation and the Naval Academy, you have lit a fire in every midshipman's heart present in that ceremony this evening. And you have given us one thing that allows every mid to stand up straight and hold their heads high, and that is pride. Though times change, old traditions die out, new traditions come to life, some things never change, and that is the pride we have to wear the uniform every day. The pride we have knowing men like you walked in the very halls, down the very walkways that we walk daily. And the pride in the fact that the mission has remained constant. And for these reasons, on behalf of every midshipman of the brigade, I can never possibly thank any of you enough for everything that you've done to have a positive impact on our lives and our futures. Just as Mr. Perot said several weeks ago at the Air Force Academy to the cadets out there, I want people who produce results, not excuses. Well, sir, I can assure you that we continue to produce naval officers who will solve problems and produce results, sir. Thank you all very much.